Disclaimer. Trigger warning and content warnings for mentions of cancer/chemo, suicidal ideation, grooming, manipulation and overall generally talking about the Rock's situation. When I was the team manager, my job has always been to protect the community, the staff who I worked with and uphold the integrity of the game I helped moderate. I care deeply for the people I met through the community as I was a player of Flavor Frenzy during my chemotherapy and a friend of Quelver for a long time until recently. It feels only right that I uphold the standard I preached. That being said, I have very little reason to lie. I don't gain anything from this aside from closure and giving back to the community that helped me feel better through my cancer treatment. As a victim of Rock Serpent myself since he manipulated me for over a year during my chemotherapy and groomed me, I was never allowed the chance to grieve the trauma he put me through or speak up about it due to my position in Blushcrunch Studios previously. All the information I share with you is from before I signed my contract with Blushcrunch Studios. Information after I signed my contract on March 6, 2025 in regards to Blushcrunch Studios. My NDA is not retroactive, nothing I signed had any language in the contract of things before the effective date being under said NDA's clauses. I cannot inform anyone of how the server is run now or what they are doing now internally. I am sorry if that disappoints anyone. I also cannot disclose anything specifically regarding Blushcrunch Studios that would be covered under NDA. Maybe when my NDA expires, if it is still relevant or if staffers who have issues would like to speak up at that time and reach out to me, I will speak up about things alongside them. Though now is not the time. I would also like to bring up that most of the time Quelver and Rock Serpent would prefer to voice call instead of actually typing up things. Due to this, some claims will have contextualized screenshots to show the validity of the claims. Many people who knew of either of them can verify that this is the case with how they operated. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, of course, nor is it a point to take a dig at either of them, but I feel I must disclose that in case anything I claim was on a voice call isn't shared here. I can't screenshot a call, regretfully, and I believe that due to the fact they both did this behavior that it is by design. I do not support Duck Adam personally and I actually strongly disagree with Duck Adam's previous videos because it was not done in a serious manner and felt very misinformed. However, this one he posted I can confirm 100% is real. Victims are backing this up, and if this counts towards their voices as someone who was a victim as well, let that be as it is. For the video I am referring to which I can confirm is real, Duck Adam's video. There are also points in this document where Rock Serpent himself is referenced as a source. I will tell you with full honesty I do not support him. This is not me endorsing him, this is not me telling you that him helping the victims now absolves him of his sins, no. None of that. What he did was horrible. I will never forgive him, ever. But what I cannot deny is facts. There will be links to his threads in regards to revealing Quell's patterned behavior of lying and manipulation. I comment on the matter in specific a bit more in this thread here. Do not use this as an excuse to harass, bully, belittle or demonize the staff team. They are only following orders from the people above them and they're likely also under NDAs as I am and cannot tell you what you ask of them without legal precautions. I do not support doxing or any of the previously mentioned forms of abuse. Though I am very much aware that had they not been under NDA, many other staff would be speaking up about issues internally. This document won't be touching on that exactly, but things that happened in parallel with the context I hope the reader can infer what I am trying to convey. As I have been talking about the issues publicly, I've received a lot of hate via anonymous messages on my straw page or from burner accounts on Twitter. I've even had instances of someone botting against my account to try to platform manipulate or swing public reception against me. This goes for another victim of Rock Serpent as well, you can see it here. I ask you, the reader of this, to not turn around and send hate my way or the way of the other victims for speaking up about it. I understand that it is upsetting to find out about things like this from a game you enjoy or a content creator you enjoy, but that does not give you the right to invalidate our experiences. Please be respectful, read all the information you can and form your own opinions. As for Quelver, if you are reading this, which I doubt because you were notoriously always avoidant of reading just about anything negative to you, our cutoff isn't the cause of me speaking out about you. What you did was absolutely abhorrent and if I am ever given permission to speak up about it, I will. But this is not the time nor place for me to speak of what happened between us. You know what you did was wrong. That's why you blocked everyone and ran away, cutting everyone off without a second notice. And since this is a recurring behavior of yours, I imagine you'll try to hide away until the drama dies down. I hope for the sake of everyone involved, including you, that you speak up and actually take genuine and honest accountability for once in your life instead of hiding behind a persona. Even though I will never forgive you personally, the closure would allow me to finally heal from this horrible grief you and Rock Serpent have put me through. I know many other victims feel much the same, and that is why I fight so hard. It's not just me on the line, there's many voices here who need to be heard. Introduction. I'd like to share my experience in regards to this as the former team manager of Blushcrunch Studios' Discord server and one of Quell's ex-close friends. I'd like to preface by stating that as a former worker and close friend of hers, this disgusts me. I don't support her at all in regards to this. The NDA I signed doesn't cover information from before I signed the NDA if it doesn't regard information I learned before I signed it. I've read my NDA thoroughly. In addition, before anyone attempts to discredit me, I wasn't fired from Blushcrunch Studios. I willingly stepped down due to health complications. Imager link. Refer to image. I originally met Quell when she was 18 back in 2023 when I was doing chemotherapy for my breast cancer. We have been friends since then from a RP server I run. Back then when Flavor Frenzy was her only project, she had a lot more free time and worked as my moderator. We grew close very quickly and eventually she told me about the situation with Rock Serpent mostly over voice calls. The story they told me was as follows: Rock Serpent did something stupid when he was a child. People from his past refused to let it die down. He felt manipulated to do these actions. He did some bad things but grew from it. I was not originally active on Roblox when I met either of them. I actually got to play Roblox more because of Quelver and Rock Serpent, so I wasn't in Roblox spaces. The Rock Serpent I knew was very kind for a while and would vent to me about issues he had going on in regards to cancel culture. He would play into things that Quelver told him in secrecy about me, which I felt he exploited to get closer to me. When I found out Blushcrunch Studios was being raided and having issues with moderation, I offered to moderate for them. Quelver had a thing where she didn't like mixing friend groups. I know now that it is because she likes to leave people in the dark of other happenings in said groups, but at the time I thought it was simply not wanting recreational time mixed with work efforts. Rock Serpent, on the other hand, felt I was loyal enough to onboard. They got together on a call with the head admin at the time and showed him my trial moderator application, basically pushing me into the role without the application system in place. I had to learn more about Roblox communities, games, people in the space and moderate diligently and where I could. It was to the point where I had helped stop a mass walkout while I was an admin, around January 2025, because Quelver was refusing to give the staff Robux that she told them she'd give them. I had coordinated with the staff team and her to find a resolution, and due to that attention to detail and help I offered, she approached me and asked me if I wanted to be in a higher position. The team manager role was made specifically because of me. It's the reason it was orange because my PFP is Garfield on Discord. I imagine the reason it's changed now was because of my association, funnily enough. During the peak of the Rock Serpent situation, myself and many staffers were harassed countlessly, manipulated by Rock Serpent that the situation was less than it was and constantly at threat of being doxxed. Some of us, myself included, were doxxed. Raids were done on the server where people would post real-life gore of people or animals being harmed, post NSFW and even some genuine real-life CSEM. I had to report multiple cases to the IC3 and Cyber Tipline. Whether or not those cases were followed up on I was never informed due to the sensitivity of the subjects. Being exposed to high-stress scenarios constantly began to affect my mental health and physical health. When you are going through cancer treatment, you want as little stress as possible. This strain coupled with my cardiovascular disease had sent me multiple times to the hospital. Rock Serpent knew this. He knew that lying to everyone about everything was causing someone he considered a close friend to be in the hospital stuck up to machines and having a heart monitor. It was to the point in which my health was declining rapidly. I could only go so far. I was suicidal, relapsing often, and genuinely was being put under mental health watch by my psyche team. I was having meltdowns, having manic episodes. I was running on fumes and effective at an all-time low. I was told by multiple staff members, by Rock Serpent and Quelver, that if I left, they wouldn't know how to continue working. I felt an intense pressure to stay in spite of my health declining. I thought to myself, what if it was my baby sisters being exposed to something like this? What if I can't moderate it in time and a child has to live with that trauma for the rest of their life? Alongside thoughts that I loved my peers, that those I worked with were found family at some point who were there for me during my cancer. I can't abandon them, and Rock Serpent would hear me speak of these things and feed into my inner monologues. I would confine myself to Quell and Rocks on calls with others that I wasn't doing well. I would get light-hearted mentions of, "You can quit when you'd like," followed often by backhanded mentions of, "But we just wouldn't be able to do well without you, Joji." I was told by them to take frequent breaks. I obliged and continued to work volunteer work strictly because of how much I cared for the community and those I looked out for. Rock Serpent was fired shortly after the peak of it all in October of 2024, and we were all disgusted. I had blamed myself then for a lot of it. I felt as if I should have somehow known that I shouldn't have been blindsided. That me not catching on while being the guy who handled safety was my fault. I was friends with many of the victims of Rock Serpent, and for some time, I felt genuine hatred and disgust with myself for things out of my control. I've given myself more grace over the years, but it still haunts me and eats at me that I was beside a monster who was destructive to not only myself, but everyone he came in contact with. Quelver moved quickly to replace Rock Serpent. Within the month she already had work given out to a new person working in Blushcrunch Studios. Within the month, the Discord server was introduced to King Mob, who was signed on to fill in Rox's shoes. This is all public knowledge. I continued to work there as a volunteer and had to sign an NDA after a while, though because I wasn't being paid my contract was a bit different and took a while to finalize. I specifically didn't want to be paid because it would affect my living situation, and I also worried it would cloud my judgment as a team manager. On multiple instances, I would mention that I would prefer not to be paid because money can corrupt. In regards to my contract or lack of pay, I don't feel comfortable going into detail further than this. My involvement. I am still recovering from cancer. Most of the Rocks drama I was expected to help manage the server while I was undergoing chemo. I did it as volunteer work for Quell, who was a friend of mine at the time. She told me and a lot of other close friends and co-workers at the time that she fired him as soon as she found out the truth. I remember her telling the public and Parlo that she knew nothing of the severity of the claims against her. Our staff were openly harassed, some doxed even, for being in the know. We didn't know. The most she told me and staff at the time was that he was fired and that she found out what had happened. This is all publicly available information, as she stated, but I believe it to add to my credibility. Imager link. Refer to image. During the Rock situation, he groomed me. He would trigger me while I was undergoing chemo and then try to soothe me over it. Whether he did so maliciously or due to some morbid curiosity, I know not, but due to that and lying about the situation, I was blinded to a lot of stuff he did. Many times on calls he would have abrupt mood swings and lash out at me or belittle me, most often in front of other friends. It was as if he was trying to lash me mentally and socially anytime I did something he didn't like. This made me very docile to try to push against many people in that circle, including him and Quell. So when Quell and Rocks approached me after people on the other side took advantage of me after I was just discharged from the hospital for chemo treatment, I hardly questioned anything. Quell and Rocks put it under the guise as if it were in my best interest, that if I speak up about my experience as a staffer that people would leave us all alone. I agreed and got doxed, death threats and so much more. When I told them both about it on voice calls, they would downplay me and blow it off by saying things like, "Well, that's the risk of working with the public," or "What did you expect? We've been doxed, too." My segment of the video time-stamped, Rox's "Our Final Response" video. It disgusted me to no end that my friends at the time, Quell and Rocks, would knowingly put me while I was going through chemo into a situation like that. But it absolutely destroyed me to hear that she knew about this for 2 months and lied to our faces about it. I had finally come to terms that Rox willingly and knowingly let me be stressed and unwell due to his selfishness and lack of care for my health or wellness, but Quell, my best friend. How many of my friends or staffers that I worked with were harassed during the time I was there for nothing, essentially? I can't name a single staffer who would have willingly stuck around knowing this as true. I can't speak for everyone, but I wholeheartedly believe that what she stated in the video with Parlo was a full fact, that she wasn't aware of the severity of anything. But now hearing that she knew more than she led on absolutely repulses me. Quelver, you knew that near the end of that year it was the worst my health had ever been. I've come to peace with Rock Serpent being a disgusting person who exploited my health. But you not only willingly allowed him around us, the staff, but around your community of children and young, impressionable minds for 2 additional months. You knew what he did in August and only came out about it when you absolutely had to. I am revolted. And common sense dictates that he was paid for those months, right? For the video I am referring to, Parlo's video, archived, for the statement she made in the video that I am referring to is a lie. Misinformation. There has also been a lot of misinformation going around, so I will debunk them right now. The video is fake. People are attempting to say that the video Duck Adam showed is fake. I can confirm it is true. Quell was in contact with Shinzu alongside Rock Serpent to try to get their side heard. She was actively working with him on this and in contact with him alongside Rock Serpent, though she failed to tell the public or her staff team what she found out on that voice call. For the video I am referring to, Duck Adam's video. Quell was a minor when the Rox drama happened. Quell was not a minor 2 years ago. I don't know who started this infantilizing of her, but she is 21 going on 22 within the month of this being written. Rox is about a year older than her. Infantilizing her in regards to keeping a danger to children when she would have been 19 to 20 and he would have been 20 to 21 at the time is absolutely abhorrent. I'm sorry, but as someone who genuinely loved and cared for the Discord server and community, the staff there and members, I cannot wrap my head around how anyone can work with children and allow someone who had a track record of endangering them be around the server. Every instance of him harming others was via Discord. Alongside the fact that many members in the server who were staff at some point or during that time were also groomed by Rox, Quell should have informed us immediately so we could remove him from the server and heal as a collective. Instead, she harbored a monster. I understand people can be groomed and manipulated, conditioned, and the like. I am a victim of that as well in regards to this situation because Rock Serpent was grooming me and manipulating me and the staff team. However, she had seen the literal evidence of it 2 months in advance. It's much bigger than something interpersonal. I need you all to understand that Blushcrunch Studios has hundreds of thousands of children in it, and that is not an exaggeration. Her working with children and allowing that is not okay. When Quell was warned the first time, she was a child though. Sure, and no one's disputing that at all, actually. The one thing that I will point out is that oftentimes when she points out this narrative, she leaves out the fact that multiple people tried warning her in Pixelbit to Rock Serpent's behavior. I'd also like to point out that she was the one who reached out to Rock Serpent in the first place afterwards when he was exiled from Pixelbit. He even says so in his videos about the matter, which you can find here, time-stamped. She had no reason to do this after being openly warned about him and urged by members of Pixelbit to discontinue contact. Instead, she started a company with him knowing his past. Rock Serpent blackmailed her with the files. People have been saying that she had to keep Rox on the team for 2 months for the files. That was never once mentioned to anyone on staff, nor have I ever heard that from her herself or any close friends to her. I would like to point out that even if he had files she needed, keeping a danger to the community around is absolutely disgusting. I would like to add that she knew the history between Rox and many of the people I worked with at Blushcrunch Studios were groomed by him and manipulated by him. I am personally genuinely appalled that you can call our staff people you care for during that time and how you care about victims while you turn around and just allow him to be around. I hate to also be the one to point it out, but he could not legally hold those files against her because she was the owner of the company, and on legal paper, she would have copyright to all the files in the project. This is public information. He would not be able to have held it away from her because she would have taken it to court and he would have been in serious trouble over files that weren't his to begin with. This is common sense. Her statement of fighting tooth and nail for the files were also debunked by Rock Serpent himself. As far as I'm aware, the reason for Flavor Frenzy not having the same caveat that Dandy's World has in regards to files is that Flavor Frenzy is simply that she does not care for Flavor Frenzy as much as she does for Dandy's World. This year, Rock Serpent reached out to a victim to try to give the Flavor Frenzy files over to Quelver after trying to get it to her via any forms of contact. The victim ended up blocking him, reasonably so, but efforts were made to actually hand over Flavor Frenzy. For those who know me from Blushcrunch Studios, specifically in the FF chat, you all know how much it pains me to confirm that to you. I was made aware that Rox tried giving her the files. From my understanding, she was alerted to it and ignored it. She had told me even back in 2024 that she had no intentions of continuing to work on Flavor Frenzy since Dandy's World took off. Other things I am not at the luxury of saying publicly, but please know that this narrative of Rock Serpent was blackmailing her for files, in regards to either game, wasn't the case. He didn't do that to buy himself more time, as that wasn't a part of the equation. Alongside this, she already had planned to hire on help and had the option to contact Rock Serpent in regards to business to demand the files back whenever she wanted. Imager link. Refer to image. Quell didn't know her inaction was causing issues. I know this is being said and will be emphasized further. An issue I personally had with her, which is why I personally cut her off, was the fact she had patterned behavior of observing things happening around her, downplaying it and later feigning ignorance of the matter to be able to drop it and distance herself from it. I know how she is. I am aware that she will try to downplay this and deflect, much like she did to Void, much like she did to me and other higher-up staff about Rock Serpent, much like she did to the public about how much she knew. I need you all to understand that those are traits of a manipulator. As the team manager, oftentimes my job was to tell Quelver when our staff team wasn't doing well. Mental health became a problem. These weren't just staff to me, they were people, co-workers, and peers of mine. A recurring issue I had with her was me asking her to help manage the staff team. Often she would neglect the help and or feign that she didn't know how bad situations were getting after having reports from me given to her. Her inaction caused a lot of issues on and off in the staff team and server because of how she would bottlenose everything. She would like to claim that she has no hand in moderation, but just about everything follows a chain of command in the server. Know that if her higher-ups are doing it, "9 out of 10 times it is because they were pivoted to do so by her." Imager link. Refer to images. Additionally, I would like to remind you all that you all do not know Quelver. How she acts publicly is just that, an act. To assume she is her online persona is parasocial and disingenuous to how someone like myself or victims who knew her would have experienced being around her, and I ask you all to understand that. That being said, to carry on with my point, Quell and Rox would also always downplay anyone opposing them, even calling them unreliable sources in multiple instances. Anyone who knew either of them would know most of the conversations they had were via Discord voice calls, and as I have not recorded any of my voice calls with them, I cannot link those here. Though here is one such instance in which Quell is discrediting Streel, creator of the original document against Rock Serpent, after admittedly never looking into it. I would like to point out that she has a history and a pattern of doing this to help downplay and discredit others to folk in her inner circles. This is something Rox also would do. I believe it is a learnt behavior from him that she has picked up. Imager link. Refer to image. And as I've said multiple times in this document, she has a history of downplaying or discrediting things, and what she portrays herself publicly isn't how she actually is. She often would claim on voice calls that any screenshots presented to her of evidence against others was fake, even instructing us to say that proof in any videos people make against her or Blushcrunch Studios is fabricated. Imager link. Refer to images. Conclusion. I'm tired of all of this. Honestly, I am. This has been causing me turmoil for the better part of 2 years now. The more that comes out about you, the more I hear about how you were. The more I realize it was all just an act. I trusted you. I trusted Rox, too. You both left me with such a guilt and shell of what I had. You had me burden the guilt of safety, drilling it into my head that it was my job and actively causing dangers or enabling dangers yourselves. That isn't okay. Nothing you say, Quell, or that he says can ever make me forgive you. Many people have asked me what it is I want from this all. I want closure. I want to be able to close this chapter of my life and relax, to recover from my cancer treatment in peace and leave this behind. I'm tired of my friends being tormented by the remnants of Quell or Rox's actions, and I want us all to have closure so we may move on. For the members of the community, I'm terribly sorry this all had to come to light like this. For those personally affected by them, I wish I knew sooner. I would have said something, done something, but I was just as in the dark as everyone else. Please, I implore you all to continue to spread our voices with respect and avoid spreading hate. If there are any edits to the document, the text will be noted as edited and this section of the document will note the edits. Thank you all for reading, and I know it's a long read. I apologize for it taking so long to write, as it pained me a great deal and several sleepless nights to actually pen it all down. I also again apologize that I had to redact and remove quite a lot of experiences that happened post-signing my NDA in regards to Blushcrunch Studios. I'm not in a financially stable situation to try to be sued or anything like that, so this was written with the utmost respect to the contract I signed. If you were affected by Quelver or Rock Serpent, please DM me via Twitter with your story and evidence. I will help uplift your voices as you all have generously done for myself and others who have since spoken out. Here is a link to the thread I have where all other voices of victims of the matter are QRT'd to, link to thread.